What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all well. Welcome back to the channel. As ever, I'm back again. It's another game week 4. As always, I'm back here for another game week video right ahead of the lock on another SORARE deadline. This time it's game week 45. I'm going to run you through my lineups, a few tips I've got for this week, and also, as is the title says, we're going to study the form a bit, and I'll let you see what that means in the video. Let's jump into it. Obviously, before we do that though, a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already, make sure you're a part and you're joining the Swingman SORARE Society League that we've got here. 105 of you now in here. We're trying to get this as big as possible, especially on the run up to the playoffs that we've got coming soon. There will be some prizes coming on the playoffs. I don't know how the structure I'm going to do it quite yet, but I'll be giving some stuff away, and maybe, we might even get something else from some other people. But yeah, it's free to do. There is a link for it in the description down below, so why not join? You're playing SORARE, you're watching these videos with me. Come and join it. Let's get involved. So these are the slate of games that we've got for game week 45. We've got limited contender champion, rare contender champion, like we always do. We've still got the rare all offensive, and we still have limited underdog. Now, as you can probably see, I don't have a limited underdog team. Now, this is because, and what the video is titled, or in the thumbnail at least, study the form. What do I mean by that? So I built what I would have said was a strong limited underdog lineup for my gallery. Like I've always mentioned, I'm not necessarily going to go out there, especially this late stage of the season, buy these limited underdog guys, these sort of L10s of 10, 15 players, where they'll be useful for this particular week or the last week as well. And then come the playoffs, they have no utility for me, because guys that have this low L10 won't really be seeing meaningful minutes in the playoffs. It's not a permanent fixture for me, so it's not something I'd look to do. My own personal opinion, I know loads of you will probably love it. I love the idea of it, but if it's not around forever, I'm not really going to jump and sell out of it. It's just not how I play SORARE. Therefore, I had some nice picks that have low L10s this week with high upside projections. But if I study the form of what you need to necessarily get to score points and to win meaningful rewards in limited underdog, it was ridiculous. And if you go to global, so limited underdog, it's nice that it pays out 550 and not the 225 that other competitions do. But if we scrap the tier 5s and you want to go for a tier 4, you need to finish inside the top 225. Now, if we go to the leaderboard for it, obviously I didn't do that this week. If we go to the leaderboard, I'll cut here.
A few moments later.
If we go for Lauren 22, he's had a Chris Boucher with a 50, a Grube with a 14, an Aldama with a 21, a Campaign with a 31, and a Johnny Davis with a 29. What's Johnny Davis's L10? L10 of 6, right? And Boucher was an L10 of 16 because I had him in my lineup. What I'm saying is, unless I've got 5 of these top tier guys where I know I'd really smash it on underdog, I'd rather play them in contender, because as well, my teams, I've got more cards that I feel I can then play alongside and boost my contender lineup. Like Beyond Boo, if you had him this week, like granted, this guy smashed it, he'll get a really good reward from this. I think there was a guy I saw that was posting some of the reward wins on Twitter, and I'd really like to see SORARE implement this on their platform in general. Like, show me what last week's limited underdog or the last limited underdog competition, what was the podium prizes? What did they get for first, second, and third? I'm just curious, because I know it's not some of the competitions, like if you win limited contender, you won't get a card as good as the same tier if you win limited champion. I know it's a different scarcity, but there are the different sort of tiers and how much they're worth and so on and so forth. I would just like to see that. That's the only thing for it. But back to my point, I didn't have a Beyond Boo, and I'm not spending the 20 quid on him for that one particular week when he comes crashing down afterwards. It was a gamble. It worked for people. I could also see it as if the first game he played 17 minutes, and I would have been really worried about it. Against the Sixers, he did turn up and he got 54 points. So it looks great in that sense, but it doesn't always work. Don't think because it worked this time, it's going to work forever. It's not how it works. It's not how it works in the NBA. In any case, the guys that I've got this week, like a Drew Eubanks, for example, he's got an L10 of 16 and he's projecting in the 30 marks because the Blazers are in this stint now where I think Trendon Watford got injured as well. Nurkic is going to be a doubt, and they're not going to rush him back. If they're shutting Dame Lillard down, they're not going to put Nurkic on the floor. So they're going to be in this case now where they're really playing some of their role players a lot of minutes when they normally wouldn't get that, like a Kevin Knox. I played him in, what did I play him in? I think I played him in rare or offensive this week. And even then, I got stiff because Anthony Edwards was terrible and so was Jimmy Butler. but he got 24. He outscored an Aaron Gordon this week. So I should have played him in like a contender mode, even though, again, Touring Prince didn't play because Anthony Edwards played, and then Anthony Edwards didn't even do very well. Regardless, all of these sort of stuff, I would rather have played Knox in a contender mode. And that's where I'm saying, if you study the form of what you need to get in these competitions to win meaningful prizes, you should really look at where you're going to put these guys. That's all I'm saying as a little suggestion for you for your lineups this week. In any case, what we're all here for. Common pickup, as ever with common pickup. If I do win the reward of the limited mark of the top 200, I will give it away to one of you guys. So leave your SORARE handle in the comments down below. The one I want to know, and I'm not picking him, the Mavericks are looking shaky. Are the Mavs going to make the play-in tournament? That's what I want to say. I want to hear your opinions on it. Look, Kyrie looks spectacular when he plays it, but at the moment, it's not looking great in terms of the argument of where he goes to teams and then they kind of get unsettled. Do the Mavs make the play-ins? If we look at the NBA standings, where are they right now? So the Mavs are sitting 11th right now. Are the Mavs going to make the play-ins? Obviously, that's all I want to know. Put your SORARE handle down below. Do you think the Mavs are going to make the play-ins? And also, give me a little reason why you do or you don't think that they're going to make the play-ins. Anyway, back with the lineup that we've got. So yeah, if we do win, I'll give it away. And the lineup we're going to get to try and win. We're going with Joel Embiid as our MVP still. Against the Denver game is going to be chef kiss. I don't think he's good. He said recently that he needs to have a game off soon because he's played so many minutes and he just needs to sort of, this is what some of these guys will do now. Giannis will do it. A lot of the guys will do it now just to sort of rest up ahead of the playoffs, you know, chill out a bit more. They're all fine, but they're going to be not rushing, they're going to be competing for that first seed or as high a seed as possible. So I do think he'll play the Denver game. He might sit against Dallas, but then again, he could go nuts against Dallas, so he might not. Anyway, he'll be my MVP this week. Giannis has got 3 games and L10 of 50. I'm going to rock with him. I also want Jokic for these games because there's no way either one of these don't get a massive score in that game. I'll be shocked if that doesn't happen. In any case, I like the fixture against the Pelicans for Jokic, and I like the fixture against the Mavs for Embiid. Giannis at 50 with 3 games. He might sit one of these or he'll get reduced minutes, but I suspect he'll sit a game, probably the Indiana one, and he'll play the Pistons and he'll play Boston. TJ Warren's getting a ridiculous projection on an L10 of 7 just for what is happening with the Suns right now. If he figures out an actual good role on the Suns team as well, he'll look really, really good. He'll be a really good option for Phoenix deep in the playoffs. And then I'm going to rock with Juan Toscano Anderson, primarily because, again, the Jazz, he's seeing good minutes. Like I'm talking 15 to 18 minutes a night now, but he's just not turning his shots at the moment into... If he gets into some garbage time, I'm hoping for a bit more, potentially in that Phoenix game, if not in the Spurs game. But, you know, an L10 of 5, it allows me to get those 3 guys in. If these two go off somewhat amounts, we could be looking pretty good. I think we had like a 2,000th finish out of the 70,000 that played. So it was a strong start, but yeah. Leave your SORARE handle down below. Let me know who you think. Let me know what the Mavs are going to do in the play-ins, if they're going to get there. And I'll give it away if I win it. As mentioned, I'm not going to be doing a limited underdog team, primarily because I'm going to be focusing it on limited contender and a few other guys. So Juan Toscano Anderson, like I just mentioned on the pickup, L10 of 5 is quite low. Could get 15, 20. I'm going to play him in contender for that. Cam Reddish is 21. Now, I could play Luke Kennard, who coming off right now is in really, really good form. He's getting strong minutes on the Grizzlies bench as well. But there's something that's telling me, and all the projections are telling me otherwise, there's something that's telling me that with Cam Reddish, if the Blazers start to shut people down, I feel Cam Reddish will get the boosted minutes. He will pick time up. I know he wasn't starting recently, but I've got a feeling that I'm just feeling they're trialing something out because he did have a good start at Portland. So I might change it, but for the time being, I'm going to play him. I know his form is looking terrible for it, which I don't mind because I've not been relying on him in lineups recently. So that means for me, his L10 is going to drop. But I'm gonna roll with him. I've also got Lou Dort in here at 23. I like both games against the Pistons and the Hornets, and I don't think the OKC are going. They are trying to make the play-in and the playoffs for it. They are actively trying to win games, so they're going to play well against these. 23 is quite low for Dort as well. Tobias Harris at 27, smidge on the higher side, but again, he's got scope to get in the 40s, so we'll roll with it. And the same with Tyrese Maxey. If I do see that James Harden is back for the Denver game, though, I might not play him, primarily because Maxey's an excellent option. He's a good option in general, but he becomes an excellent option when James Harden isn't playing. So that would be the only thing that would change. And if I get rid of Maxi, I might get rid of Harris and try and get someone else higher in and then play like a Jordan Poole, because he's been getting back to Jordan Poole minutes and numbers now recently. Just a quick shout out. A lot of you haven't subbed who are watching these videos. It would really help me out. If you like this content, you're appreciating it, please do hit that sub button. It would help me out more than you can imagine. Back with the video. Limited champion MVP Joel Embiid is who he's always going to be. Always puts up solid showings. He's always in the 60 mark recently. I mean, if Joel Embiid puts up less than 30 points at the moment, you're sort of shocked that he's doing that. This also allows me to play Ja Morant at 46 back in the starting lineup. It didn't have a necessarily amazing showing against the Rockets. I thought he would have had against the Hawks as well when he came back in the lineup. I figured that he'd stay on the bench for a couple of games, come straight back into the starting lineup, and that has what's happened. Back-to-back Magic Clippers. I like both these games for Ja Morant, especially that Clipper game. I think he'll be really good in it. No Paul George. Kawhi's going to be a doubt, I think. I like the Clippers game a lot. The Magic one, I've got a feeling the Magic will be quite a hard matchup for the Grizzlies. I don't know. It's more on the Wendell Carter Jr. side, Banchero, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think it's not as an easy game as people are necessarily thinking. I do fancy the Grizzlies to beat the Clippers, though. And I would suspect that Ja Morant would have a good game. Vucevic is basically coming off of a rest as well. He got ejected against the Lakers really early. I like the game, like I said, against the Clippers. I'm a bit down on the Clippers at the moment recently. And then obviously there is the game against the Lakers as well on the doubleheader. 38 for him is about right, I would say. It's not great, but it isn't bad. He has scope to get in the 50s and higher, but it all depends on what DeRozan and what Levine are doing. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not playing... I'm not playing Limited Underdog, and these are two guys that I would have been playing in them. So Drew Eubanks, like I mentioned with the Blazers, they're in this sort of almost, they haven't certified it, but they're pretty much in, we're shutting down now. Nurkic isn't going to play, and they're probably going to ice Lillard now for the season. As such, Drew Eubanks at 16 becomes a really appealing asset. I think he's projecting in the 30s. 2 games against the Pels and the Kings. I don't really like it against the Kings. I think Sabonis will dominate him, but against the Pelicans, there's scope for him to get some solid numbers. He did get 5 blocks the other night against the OKC, but this is OKC. And the same thing with Thibault. With the these are two Blazers players that I'm going heavy on. So if it doesn't go well, I've only got myself to blame for it. But I've just got a feeling they're going to see really strong minutes. Thibault, again, if he's getting good minutes on the floor and he's getting more of a usage, that coupled with what we all know about Matisse Thybulle being a good defensive player, steals and blocks are definitely on the scope there. There is potential that he goes in the 20s and he gets in the 30s and maybe the 40 mark. And if I get both of these going for 40s, and then we've got an Embiid that's looking at a 60, a Morant that's looking for a 40-50, and a Vucevic that's looking at a 40-50. There's a good, strong, limited champion lineup there. That's how I'm seeing it. I'm looking at both of these guys getting 30 plus, and then these 3 guys here getting, well, these 2 getting 40 plus, and this guy getting 60 plus. That's how I'm seeing it. Fingers crossed. Right, we'll move on to the rare side then. Rare contender. Now, this is where, again, it seems like I'm being paid to talk about the Blazers this one for So Rare. Kevin Knox, I laughed about this last week as a pick, and I was saying if it all went wrong, I would take it on the blame. And it didn't go wrong at all. I just had him in the wrong lineup. And this is, again, where I'm saying about studying the form. An L10 is 6, and he's going to see sort of 15 minutes, like minimum. He'll see 15 minutes now. He was completely out of the rotation, but because what the Blazers are doing, he'll see a lot more time. L10 is 6, no brainer for me. Same with Garubu. It was just Garubu's role will be completely different to what Kevin Knox has got. Garubu will get a couple of boards, maybe an assist or 2, maybe 4 to 6 points. But there is obviously the chance that he goes a bit more. The game is against the Knicks and the Nets. I prefer the Knox pick than the Garubu, but because he's got an L10 of 7, I'm not going to play him in all offense again. I'm going to play him in contender, and I'm not going to play him in champion, which then means I can put Marcus Smart here, who got ejected the other night. He was actually playing semi-decently as well. I do like the game against the Wizards. I don't like it necessarily against the Bucks. I think Drew Holiday will be all over him. 25 again is mid for what you... It's just meh on Marcus Smart. There is scope he gets high 30s, but I'm not going to hold my breath for it. RJ Barrett has 2 games this week. One of them is against the Rockets. I really like that. It all depends as well how RJ Barrett starts games. He's not like Andrew Nembhard to the extent of that if he starts hot and then he can completely go cold, but if he starts cold, it will be cold all game. RJ Barrett can ease himself into games a bit more. I also have a feeling that the Miami game, there is a chance Jimmy Butler will sit this, because I think, yeah, see, they're playing Toronto and then they're going to the Knicks as well, and that's a back-to-back, and that's a big back-to-back. So there is a chance that Jimmy sits this game, or a few other things that can happen. But in any case, I like RJ Barrett as a pick this week at 30. And then this then enables me to play Anthony Edwards in a contending lineup because of Knox and Garubu. I could play Jaren Jackson Jr. is the only thing. Now, Edwards is back off of that ankle sprain, which I'm surprised he's back this quickly anyway, but I'm not sure what one I'd rather play. But let me know, who should I play in my contender lineup? Anthony Edwards or Jaren Jackson Jr.? What one would you play if you had my lineup? I'm curious to know. Rare champion then, we're going to be going after it yet again. Devin Booker as the MVP. I'm still going to ride with him just because I think there is a massive game in him. I know Kevin Durant is slated to come back for the Timberwolves game, and that'll be a scoring feast between sort of you Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Karl Anthony Towns. That will be one of those games, I'm sure of it. 47 he's reaching that point now where he come back when he was at like the 30 mark, and then he had these 60-point games, and now he's slowed back down again. I still really like him as an MVP option. I like the game against the Jazz, but it's primarily because I bought him as my MVP and I'm going to play him as my MVP. It's not necessarily the smartest strategy, but I do believe there is another big sort of 60-point game in him. So I'm going to roll with him this week. Drew Holiday and all of the Bucks guys this week. Your Bobby Portis's, your Giannis, obviously shock news. Giannis is a solid option this week. Brook Lopez or Brolo, Drew Holiday, like I've mentioned. Chris Middleton will only play 2 of these. He's not going to play 3. I suspect he'll sit the Indiana game and they'll play him in the Pistons and the Boston game, which then means that some of the role players in the Bucks could become viable, especially for the 3 games. You can take the chance on them. Drew Holiday at 34 is much more manageable and palatable. And also because he's had, I would say, bad games for SORARE in the sort of 21, 23, 22, 26, 28. When his L10 catches up, he's really going to dip down, and that'll be a nice stretch sort of towards the back end of the playoffs and or the start of the playoffs, which will make him easier to fit into lineups. Aaron Gordon at 27, again, this is another guy that's similar in that aspect. He's got the scope and the ceiling to definitely do this for the Nuggets. The Nuggets have been in a bit of a weird, I can't describe the Nuggets at the moment stage. It is really centric around Jokic. Jamal Murray's been doing things, but Aaron Gordon, again, at 27, he's going to come lower soon as well. When this 35 and 43 dip, it'll be lower than this. He's going to be a really, really solid option again towards the back end of the regular season, starting into the playoffs with a strong team like the Bucks and the Nuggets. Low L10. I like him this week as well. I like the Pelicans game. There's scope for him to outperform 27. I could swap him to Sohan, but I'm not sure he's going to be fit, and I'd rather take the gamble on the 2 games. Andrew Nemhard, absolutely classic. I do have a Gary Harris and an Isaiah Livers here. Isaiah Livers is my only concern with him is that with Livers, I'm not sure what the Pistons rotation is going to be on any night. They might play some G League players that they recall. So if I see confirmation of stuff, I might slip him into a contender mode, but neither of these 2 are going to make a champ mode team for me. Nemhard, I've said this all year, he's got a very, very strong upside potential. But if he doesn't start well in an NBA game, and I mean the first quarter, if he's bad for the game. That's the only thing I've noticed all season with him. But like I've said, if a Halliburton or Mathurin sits for the Pacers, Nemhard is an excellent option because he moves from the 2 to the 1. He becomes the primary ball handler and he can play well there. It's not one of these cases where, oh, this backup player steps in. That means that he's going to be really, really good when they're just not that great of an NBA player in general to begin with. Nemhard is a solid player. So if he goes into that number 1, like that point guard, that 1 role, I'm very confident with him that he can get in the 30s and the 40s. If he doesn't, he can get in the 7s and the 19s is the issue. So that's the danger of running a Nemhard. But it also then allows me to play Mikal Bridges. Now, he's only got the 1 game, which can be seen as the sort of quote-unquote risk. But he's not missed a game in however, I think it's like 180 he's not missed. I like the matchup against the Rockets. If we go back, he got a 49 against the Rockets beforehand. He got 61 and 46 the other night. He's on it, the Nets are in that stage where a lot of people thought, oh, they're going to get instantly worse, but Bridges has been excellent for them. So I'm going to play him in my champion mode. There is scope he gets 50. And again, the way I sort of try and tot it up, if Booker can get a 60, Drew Holiday can get a 40, Aaron Gordon can hit a 40, it's wishful thinking, I know. Nemhard can hit a 35 and he could hit a 40 on a 50, then we're looking at a solid rare champion lineup. The only thing I will say, if I see confirmation that Kelly Oubre Jr. is more likely to play, this game against OKC is solid for him. The way the Hornets have been playing, if he's back and he plays 35 minutes, 30 minutes, he can easily get in the 50s as well. So Oubre is a solid option this week. I just prefer the Bridges pick. And then rare or offensive then. So we've got Jimmy Butler as my MVP in this one. He's always capable of that sort of 50-point mark. I do think he's only going to play one of these games though. But with the way the Heat have been performing, he might be forced to play both just to solidify their position in the standings. But I think if they can, they'll play him in one of these. Jaylen Brown as well. If Jason Tatum's not on the court, he is an unbelievable option this year. Even when Jason Tatum's on the court, he's very capable of a 40, 50-point game. He's just capable of those sort of 60-plus point games when there's no Jason Tatum about. But in any case, I like the fixtures for both of these. I'm going to have him near on 20% come the playoffs as well, which would be very, very handy. Cam Reddish, like I've mentioned as well, bit of a gamble, but in these rare all-offensive ones, you've got to get so lucky in terms of the two. They only pay out 225, so you need those differential picks. And Cam Reddish is going to be one of those guys there for me. He's not projecting very well. There's a chance he doesn't see very much minutes, but if he does do well and he does see these minutes, and I can't project, I don't think anyone can necessarily predict the Trailblazers rotation at the moment. If he does do well, I, in theory, should have him, and not a lot of others should have him. Then to fill this lineup out, my gallery wasn't great in terms of how it lined up L10-wise. So I've got an Okongwu against Cleveland and a Gary Trent Jr. against the Heat. Gary Trent Jr. is a game time decision, and the deadline, the games that the Heat are playing are not when the deadline strikes. I might switch it, and I did see this. I could play Jeremy Grant and then take Okongwu down to Isaiah Livers. But again, Jeremy Grant is a game time decision. I would know if he's playing in the Pelicans game. So if I see that he's playing, I probably will make the switch and put Livers and Jeremy Grant in for this lineup. So yeah, that's that. Don't forget to join the Swingman SORARE Society League. The link for that will be in the description, I should say. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you do enjoy these videos that I'm doing in the run-up to the playoffs, these weekly sort of game week lineup videos that I do, please consider hitting that subscribe button, like the video, and let me know what you think the Mavs are going to do. Are they going to make the play-ins and the playoffs in general? And leave that SORARE handle in the comments down below. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.